Hello and welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. As always, I have with me the talented, the redeemed, Matt the Pickled
Redeemed.
Redeemed.
I'm in
And
good
I'm
graces
Dracoya.
again.
What?
Hello. Oops.
What did you
I said hello.
just say? We have a crazy story for you today. WotC. Oh, more WotC drama. But before we get into it, Matt, what do
Mm.
you drink?
Glenlivet. It's not just Glenlivet. It's the Glenlivet. And it's
Mm.
delicious. It was a gift from a dear friend um, who can't return soon enough.
I don't know who you're talking about. And
Uh,
I have white wine that is honestly not worth mentioning. I tried something new today. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Today, it didn't work out. We're gonna try it again. I'll give you guys something better next time.
all
So,
right.
WotC and that drama. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. So
We
everybody
just
knows
found
about
out.
the Christmas bloodbath last year, where they axed 20% of their workforce. Um, and I think everybody forgot something. And I went back and I checked, and the announcements did include this. It said more layoffs to come in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're
And
here.
then today.
Yes. Well, yes. And to be clear, we don't know how extensive these layoffs are. We just got the first word from an individual, and of course, we have to share a screen. We gotta share
That's
the
what we
goodness
do.
with everybody. Uh, but so watching with more layoffs, there's this gentleman, Dixon Dubois, is unfortunately no longer employed with Wizards of D&D, and he is impacted as part of a corporate reorganization.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, he says he's going to talk more about this later, but this is very interesting because a corporate reorganization can mean a lot of things. Having been through several myself.
But Matt and I did some digging.
Yes. So, and it's interesting because this is also right on the heels of Chris Perkins being removed from his role as the lead, one of the lead designers, and put into upper management, quote unquote. Um,
Hmm.
and so, obviously, there's not a lot of details yet, but yeah, we did do some digging, and uh, we saw that like I said, they did say there are more layoffs coming in 2024. And Hasbro had also announced last year that they were planning to close their Providence, Rhode Island headquarters by January of 2025, which we're almost there for. Uh,
That's a pretty big deal. So I kind of theorize what they're probably doing is they're doing massive layoffs all over the place. Um, because I think that way they don't get hit with as many restrictions from the government when it comes to layoffs. And then they're just having whoever it is they want to keep in Rhode Island move to a different place, which I guess is going to be Washington.
well, I just literally read just this very second when you said Washington that Hasbro itself, the parent company, wants to move to Boston.
Oh, I love
Interesting.
Boston, but not for
Yeah.
them. I don't want them
Boston's
there.
it's a cool town.
Boston's a very cool town, but
Yeah.
not for them.
Yeah. But to go along with what Dracoya said, where we're expecting sweeping layoffs. There is a law that says it's called the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification WARN Act,
Hmm.
where you have to announce your layoffs in the state that's being effective. But there are ways around it.
So that's only if it's a certain amount of your employees or it's a certain percentage. And then you have to by law or if it's like you're closing your doors. So there's certain reasons you have to make this announcement. So if your boss laid you off and there was an announcement, no, you can't sue. But there are certain reasons for it, and it does have to be within a 60-day notice. So they'll typically post the announcement, give the government a warning, and then 60 days later, that's when the layoffs will begin.
Yeah, but it was interesting because what I found online was that Hasbro did not file a worker adjustment and retraining notification with Rhode Island for the 2024 layoffs because the layoffs are global and not centered in the state. And I don't know what the law is in regards to the Warren Act, but that's an interesting statement. Global, like I guess there are Hasbro employees all over the place.
I
But
don't know. I wish one of our viewers was a lawyer so that they could tell us because we would gladly have somebody on and they could explain to us exactly what these rules and restrictions are. Um, but that aside, what I'm speculating WotC is doing is again forcing a lot of the people that they want to keep in Rhode Island. They're saying, okay, well, you have to get with the program and move to this other place,
yeah, relocate or you're
else,
fired. And
here's your
then
4 month notice. And then it's technically not really a layoff as much as a voluntary quit kind of a situation, because they didn't want to move. And WotC was like, oh, but we offered you to keep your job.
I would wager it's a little of both. I would wager there's some people getting the axe and some people given the option. And it might be, like you said, that they don't have to report to the state if they're going to lay off if it's below a certain percentage. And
Yeah.
so they might have done, crunched the numbers and said, hey, we're going to offer such and such a percentage to move and this percentage just to be laid off, right? And if people move, they can always be part of a later layoff. Uh, but they certainly, Hasbro is certainly going through a massive reorg as they call it. And toys, which had always been the bedrock of their company, just aren't doing it anymore. I
No.
actually, for the first time in a really long time, saw a toy commercial, and all I could think to myself is, every one of those kids is either going to be on a video game or on a tablet or on a phone. They're not going to be playing with Spider-Man, you know.
Not
And
really.
it's interesting to me because they have all of these great IPs. And they said last year that they want to only focus on the billion-dollar IPs. They're not interested in any other IP, which is why there was a push to make D&D that billion-dollar IP. Magic the Gathering already is, but it makes me wonder if they are obviously they've doubled down, tripled down on their VTT, but it makes me wonder what they're going to do if the D&D IP doesn't hit that billion-dollar mark through
Oh,
microtransactions and all that stuff.
they're
Uh,
gonna top it out with a bathwater, man.
because and they're notorious for sitting on IPs too, like GI
Hmm.
Joe, Transformers, on and on and on. They have the rights to produce toys and products for all these things, but when they don't sell, they don't see if they can sell them off. They just sit on them. So that's interesting, and the fact that they're willing to get rid of more of their D&D staff is clearly an indication of one, um, that they're they said that this new version of D&D, the 6E or whatever, is going to be the final version. And they have their programmers and developers all set to work on the VTT, So if there's not going to be any rules changes going forward, you don't really need developers. Chris Perkins has been moved out of that development role, put into management, and they just don't need these other folks anymore. So that could be totally part of it.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what the evil grand plan really is. I would like to think that Dungeons and Dragons is too big of an IP for them to just sit on, but then again, they really are killing Dungeons and Dragons, aren't they? And it's a real shame because there's definitely so much more that they could be doing, but the way they're going about it is bad. I would also speculate that it's possible that they're going to lay off almost everyone associated with the Dungeons and Dragons team when it comes to marketing, designing, illustrating, anything creative in any way, shape, or form, which you and I both know is like 90% D&D. And they're just going to entirely rely on AI. I mean, we've already seen that with art. The art is garbage. It looks like AI bullshit. And then I'm sure we're going to start seeing more and more AI written modules. And, I think that they're probably going to lay off their marketing team and they're just going to start marketing a bunch of AI nonsense. Because this guy who did this tweet, I looked at his LinkedIn and you guys can take a look. He was responsible for a lot of marketing being done at with D&D. So I'm a little surprised that he got laid off because anyone that has a good business model knows that sales begin and end with marketing. So it's a little disturbing to me. What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting to me. Sad for these folks, obviously, but the there's going to be a lot of changes coming with Wizards of the Coast, and probably over the next day or two, we'll probably know more, and we'll talk to you guys about that. But
We'll keep
um,
you informed.
yeah, so
Meanwhile, for those of you that are playing in-person Dungeons and Dragons and you'd like to support the channel, I have here a wonderful QR code and my email. So you can either message me on Instagram, or if you're one of those people that don't do social media, which is probably understandable at this point, you can email me right here at dracoyaminis@gmail.com. And you too can have a beautiful miniature.
yes, doom. All right, guys. Comment, like, and subscribe. Go to dnddice.com. Load up on dice using promo code PICKLED. Buy all the dice. Support our channel. Check out our shop. We're unleashing more t-shirt designs. We hope you enjoy them.
I
Uh,
am so excited about the t-shirts.
yes,
Woo!
I think they're coming out pretty good. I have
Yeah.
taxed my Photoshop skills to the limit. Um, and
No,
I
he
think
hasn't.
I
We
think
can
that
push
they've
him
come out
farther.
well. So, all right, guys.
Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, come back and have another round on us.
Woo!